Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions and Brave Kids Books, where we have a mission to wake the world up to what's possible for healing, one brave word at a time. And here today to help me with that mission is the lead author of Brave Kids, short stories to inspire our future world changers. Welcome, KJ Kaschula. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing fabulous.
So,
Thank
you
you.
guys, Kelly is way more than just the lead author of the Brave Kids book series now. I've got mine on the back shelf back there. She also is the director of Brave Kids Books, which is our children's book publishing imprint here at Brave Healer Productions. And she runs everything behind the scenes in terms of all of our expert collaborations and everything we do. Today, we're here to specifically talk about this brilliant second book in the series. There's so much to talk about today. But let me tell you a little bit about Kelly. She is a children's book author, illustrator, book designer, and Brave Kids Books publishing director. She's a creator of The-Super-Dooper-Secret-Collection, a series of books following the secret adventures of Little Lizzie. She's also the lead author of this beautiful book that we're going to talk about today. It's a collection of inspirational and brave short stories written by authors from around the world. Kelly grew up in South Africa, where she found herself gravitating toward the arts of storytelling. And when she's not playing with stories, she's most likely sipping coffee in a cafe or tasting delicious cuisines. Sounds like a plan to me.
Yeah.
Kelly, what inspired you to create this series?
This series came out of a need um, for the inspiration. It's a need and a mission to help children all over the world be braver, be change makers, help the earth, help mankind, animal kind, plant kind to, flourish, to be the best that they can be. So the inspiration came out of the need to help.
So why is there a need? Why is it important to help kids be brave right now?
To help kids be brave right now is, I was thinking about this, it's to help kids be brave in the future and to be help the next generation of kids be braver, as well as help the adult kids that are going to grow up, because the world needs bravery. Bravery inspires knowledge and growth and change. So to be brave is to change the world and to make the world a better place. Um, it's strange to think how bravery is associated with change making, but that is the way I see it.
How
Um,
how did you have to be brave as a kid?
you know what? I think when I think back at it, I think my bravery stems from ordinary bravery, what we adults would think about today. Standing up in front of class, saying a speech, saying hello to a stranger as a kid, a kid stranger to make friends. Um, those type of bravery things, stepping outside of your kid braveness. Today, however, I think the world has changed, and so the world we knew as kids has completely changed, and so the bravery has changed. And so now kids are braving, having bravery through social media and the constant knowledge that's coming from news and their parents, and so they have to intake a lot of this information, understand it, process it, and still want to be a kid. And so their bravery is completely different to the bravery I had to experience.
Yeah, I would agree. I feel similarly about that. We all, I think, are pushed to be brave in our lives, and as a kid, as a young adult, as a full adult, and then beyond, right? So, what I love the most about these stories is they are definitely written to help kids, but they definitely help the adults who are reading these stories to the kids. The topics lend themselves to us as adults and the things that we've had to move through, whether we're a kid or an adult. I think I love the most that these authors are experts in our Brave Healer community, talking about things from their perspective with so much knowledge and wisdom. Is there any message that you have for all of your co-authors in the book?
Oh, most definitely. I want to say thank you to each and every one of our authors in Brave Kids 2 and in Brave Kids 1. Thank you for trusting us and playing in the sandbox. Brave Kids 2 is probably been one of the hardest books I've ever had to do, and it's totally worth it. And I know each author had their own experience to go through. And sometimes it was hard, to do rewrites and trying to figure out, plot and character. So my message to my authors is thank you for playing with us, because these stories, they are truly from my heart amazing. I definitely one day when I have kids will read it to them probably over and over again. Not because I helped publish this book, but because the stories are so pure and they come from a really good place.
They do. So, speaking of stories, tell us all about the inspiration for Child White Dragon, your story, and how that got crafted into the dragon pieces of this book.
Well, it's so funny you say inspiration, because when I think about Child White Dragon, I was never really inspired to write the story. I was, however, pushed by some universal magic to write the story because there was a need. I kept on telling my story, don't change the story. There's a need for it. You have to write it, no matter how hard it is. Push through the rewrites. I don't know how many rewrites I had with this book, with the story. So there was a need, and when I think about why I wrote it, it's in a way to awaken you as a human being, whether you're a little human being or a big human being, because this story has so much subtext in it. You can read it, when you are like 9 years old, and you have this message, and then you read it when you're 19 or 29, and the messages are completely different because it works in where you are in your life and the knowledge that you have gained. Um, so a quick sum up of what it is Child White Dragon is a guardian and gatekeeper of the in-between. And the in-between is a place between two universes. So I would like you to imagine like two marbles as a universe. Yes, brother universe and sister universe. And between the two marbles, which act as universe, is the in-between. And in this place, this fantastical place, is floating rocks that was once a planet that got destroyed by some reason. And there is this dragon who is the guardian, and he protects the universes from clashing, and he also protects the stone dragons that sit on the floating rocks. And the stone dragons represent, a soul that has gone and crossed the threshold and is now experiencing all these different lives in different universes, in different space, in different times. And the life lived is a lesson. So while these dragons are stone dragons, their sparks return every time they've learned a lesson. And once the whole dragon has learned all the lessons across universe, times, dimension, then it may ascend to the next level of its journey. Much like what we will go through as human beings, we will have this amazing life, go through these journeys of ups and downs, and we will learn our lessons. And one day, as should happen, we shall pass from this earth and we'll join our greater self. And one day, when all our other sparks have returned, we will ascend. And so that was the idea behind it. Now, how I crafted it is another story. How I crafted it came to me through a time in my life that was really difficult. And during that time, I would sit down and try and meditate a lot. And I would just sit in complete silence. And sometimes I see, images because I'm such a creative mind, I see these things. And so I would grab these little juicy pieces of puzzles, I would write them down. And I remember one day I was sitting down in the kitchen and I gathered all my papers together and I put them all on the paper. And so that's where Child White Dragon is started, all these puzzle pieces together on the paper. And then Brave Kids 2 came up, and then I heard like a whisper in my ear, let's write a dragon story. And that is the dragon story that I know, and that's the dragon story I wanted to tell. Um, there we go.
And
That's
s-
Child White Dragon.
and that's brilliant. I love hearing these stories about how they came upon us. And there happens to be three dragon stories in this book. What do you want to
Yeah.
share about that? That's kind of interesting.
That is some mystical power. I don't know what type of power it is, but it's some sort of magic that pulled these dragon stories together. In no way was it intentional. It happened through, I guess, a need, a want. I wrote a dragon story and I was like, hey, let's finish the book with another dragon story. So we grabbed another author. They were going to write another dragon story. And then by some strange coincidence, we had another author come in and write a dragon story. So I was like, okay, beginning, middle, end, past, present, future. And then some strange mystical energy happened. One day after Brave Kids, the authors had written the stories, and I had to, start looking into writing my introduction and ending. And I was like, hey, 2024 is the dragon year? No way. So I'm like, okay, now there is definitely some mystical energy. And it was quite funny. I recently went on a little vacation because I just needed a little bit break. And this was purely not intentional, but I went to the Drakensberg in South Africa, and the Drakensberg translates to the Dragon Mountains. And when I realized this recently, I was like, oh my word, mind blown. So I think these three dragons came together because they needed to come together. They needed all to tell their stories, which is a story of metamorphosis, of transformation, of taking the leap, of crossing the threshold. And if you don't understand the first story, maybe you'll understand the second story. And the same with the third. If you don't understand the second, maybe the third speaks to you. But they all have some core values that everyone, can read and take into their life, whatever age.
And that goes for every single story in between. So, my gratitude also goes out to all of our co authors, everybody who said yes to this project and really worked with Kelly to bring those stories to life. Thanks to all of you for doing that so brilliantly. We're going to use the M word for magic a lot for this book because it's really palpable in the whole series, and especially this second book coming to life with all of this amazing magical energy. Another really unique thing that we are doing and I'm very proud of is our partnership with one of our authors, Cedric Noafor of Roots Africa, the founder of the nonprofit. So I was hoping you would tell us a little bit about that partnership, Kelly.
Yeah, uh, I was looking at, partnering up with an NGO because I really wanted to pay it forward and give it back um, to the world and society. And I looked deep into myself and like, hey, where would I like to give back? And it's great, giving aid to organizations that give food, but then the people eat the food and it's gone. And so I thought, well, there's that saying, if you give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. But if you teach him how to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. And so I started looking into organizations that help people around the world grow their own food. Because if people know how to grow their own food, they can feed not only their families, but the entire village and communities, and they can pass this great information down through generations. So kids will learn it, they'll pass it on to their kids. And it's a small glimmer of hope that people around the world could, well, especially in Africa, because Roots Africa um, can, survive and learn with the aid that we're going to help share.
Yeah, and kudos to you, Cedric, for what you're doing with Roots Africa. I've known Cedric for a few years now, and he's an incredible man with a big mission. And we are super happy and proud to be donating a portion of our first quarter proceeds for the book, you guys. So when that comes out, please share far and wide and help us give back to Cedric and Roots Africa. Um, so I know one of the things that is your favorite things is your talent at illustration, and I wondered if you would share just a little bit about your process when it comes to this book. How did that go down?
Okay, so this book, I was in crunch time when I had to draw. And so I had all my knowledge from reading every single chapter. And so the first thing I do is when I read a chapter, I kind of find the spark of a chapter of a light spark of the chapter. And so I do a bunch of research on the specific picture I want to do. First, I have an image in my brain, so I know what I'm looking for. But if it is, for example, a position of a character of their arms, legs, and so I research, try and find a similar picture so that I can get the exact movement. And sometimes I have to, for a character, I might have to find a reference picture and then like take their arm and move it to another place with another picture. So it's really fun. It tests my skills as an illustrator. So the idea is find a spark, research, and then I basically draw. Um, Usually with there's might be some knowledge behind it. For example, with chapter 17, one of the authors asked, please can I use the picture of their childhood? So I was like, how's it going to do that? So I managed to take the picture, cut out the background, put flowers that's mentioned in the story in the background with her holding her watering can. Let's see, another chapter that I used, which was, Terry's wrote about her cat, Twig, and so she asked, please, can I use her cat as a reference? And so I managed to draw Twig for her, which is really nice. I love giving back to these authors. They put so much heart into it, and so it's now something they can keep forever. There was one chapter that Kelly Daughtry's chapter with the bunny. My She spoke about a bunny that had passed away, and so literally 3 months before my sister's bunny passed, and so I asked Kelly, can I use my sister's bunny as a picture? And she's like, most certainly you can. And so in a way, Kelly's chapter helped my sister, go through the process of grieving as well with the picture. So that's how you inspiration from everywhere.
I love it. The illustrations are so gorgeous. Wait till you all see those in the book. And of course, the stories are magical. They are our authors pouring their hearts and souls onto the pages for you. And um, it's really quite a project. The project for us is ongoing, and Brave Kids, not only as a publishing imprint, but in this series, is going to be an annual event, this collaboration, this collection and collaboration and community of experts coming together to share stories and really support with that community, support our kids. But basically, it's so much more than a book, and we want you to know what that is, because these are generous people in general, who are coming together to be there for you beyond the book, beyond the stories, in all of the ways that they are experts in the world, therapists and coaches and healers and energy workers and meditation teachers, and like on and on and on. These are phenomenal individuals. So tell us a little bit about the big picture mission. Tell us about the next book. Where are we going with this Brave Kids mission?
Well, we are going to do Brave Kids 3. We're going to look for authors to join us on our next adventure. So if you're an author out there, please, you can contact us. Um, with our mission is to wake up the kids as well as the adult kids, which are the adults. We want them to be empowered. We want them to feel like they can change their world. We know the world is a big place, but if these stories reach just one heart and changes a kid from a bully to a friend, then we have solved our little mission. Um, if we've helped a kid overcome the passing of a parent or an animal or a sibling, then we've done our mission. If we've helped a kid stand up in front of a class and say simple speech because they read a story in our book about a character that did the same thing, then you know what? I'm beyond delighted because we are waking them up. We're changing their hearts and we're changing mankind. We're changing mankind to be better. So there'll be better grown-ups. There'll be the grown-ups and the kids that help us as elderly people cross the road when there's traffic and you have a teenager that just wants to get to the next best thing.
That's a good point. We are going to be taken care of by this generation of brave kids. And so it behooves us to help them grow up into amazing, empowered individuals, which is so evident throughout these stories. Um, so if you're an author, if you're a children's book author, if you want to be a children's book author, Brave Kids 3 might be the perfect project for you. And we'll have some contact information down below if you'd like to, chat with us about including your short story in our next collaboration. Of course, if you're ready to publish your whole solo book, we're here for you to talk about what that looks like and get your amazing work and message out into the world for kids. As a company, we're really focused on partnering with nonprofits and charities so that we can give back and create an even bigger ripple with what we're doing in our book publishing. So you might be listening and you might want to come to us and suggest a company that we might partner with, or maybe it's you, or maybe you want to write a book that is giving back to a particular organization. So we're all ears, and Kelly is ready to have those discussions with you about how we partner and do this in a bigger way. As what I know for sure is doing this together is so much more fun. But it's also so much more impactful. And we are recognizing that impact as we go and grow as a company. It is real, it is big, it is amazing. And we're so, so grateful for all of you brave healers out in the world for being a part of this community and grabbing our hands to do big things like that. So, Kelly, thank you so much for what you do in the world. Thank you for being here today to share it with everyone. Is there any last words you have for our listeners?
Be brave.
Be brave, the motto of everything around here. That might mean something for you that's different for some than the next person, right? So it's great to reflect on what that means for you. And I would say to reach out to Kelly, reach out to us if it's time to share your brave words in whatever way you're ready to share them. Anything else, Kelly?
If you give me a second, I would love to read something from my chapter. Um, I thought these words I wrote really ring true um, to everyone. Give me a second. I've got it just here for you. Um, okay, this is a child white dragon, and he's just been confronted with a great big blue dragon who has gone through the entire experience of living. And he has some very important words to impart to child white dragon. just before he goes upon his adventure into the great beyond. Um, Here it is. Don't be afraid, dear child. I stood once where you stood now, upon the air separating sister universe and brother universe, and I too feared the unknown. But not knowing is the greatest adventure you could ever contemplate. It is only when you cross the barrier of what is known into the unknown that you will truly live the contemplated adventure.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you for that. I love it when our authors read their pieces too. Again, Kelly, thank you for everything you do around here. We are building an amazing community. And I know I say that piece a lot, but to you authors, please come play with us, right? This is way more than a book around here. But speaking of that book, remember you're invited to join us for our book launch party. It's going to be on March 8th at 12 noon Eastern. We're going to be gathering with all of the Brave Kids Volume 2 authors and dropping some more inspiration and wisdom for you. You can find information down below about the party and get the Zoom information. And if you happen to be listening to this interview anytime around today, because our book comes out today, that's funny. I was going to say March 8th. We're having our party in a few days, you guys, but we happen to be recording this interview on launch day. So, or actually in a couple days, launch day. So, soon you'll be able to hop over to Amazon and grab your beautiful copy of Brave Kids, but remember that Brave Kids Volume 1 is already out there as well. Do yourself a favor and purchase your copy of both of those. They make incredible gifts. Lastly, today, remember everyone, your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it is time to be brave. See you next time, everyone.